let's talk about binning. So what is binning? Well, it's taking a continuous variable and putting it into uh, discrete groupings. Okay, so let's do this by loading the same uh, trip data, taxi data we've been working with. Now, if I look at the total amount, I have all these numbers in here. Again, in theory, there's a limitless amount of uh, values I could take on here. And I could look at the distribution here, right? I could call describe and get some idea of like, what's my median, 75th, 25th percentile. Like that's cool. Um, and I have values in this range. Well, that's all great, but let's say I just want to work in buckets of, I don't know, $5 increments. If you're coming from SQL and you're familiar with that, you're probably doing a bunch of case when statements. If you're using Excel, maybe have a bunch of nested if statements. You don't need to do that in pandas. You can just create bins using pd.cut. And as you see here, I'm taking that total amount column. I'm creating bins, which are right inclusive, meaning uh, the first one being 0. If the value is exactly 0, it falls into that bucket. If the value is exactly 5, it falls into the next bucket. But anything in between goes into that second bucket as well. So by default, pandas will generate labels for you, but you can make your own labels here, which you'll see, right? So I'm going to give a little bit more kind of human readable labels of $0 to $5, 5 to 10, so on and so forth. And the very last one, which is our kind of catch-all at the end, I'll just call it over 30. And that's all there is to creating bins. Just use PD cut. So now I can take a look at these bins, and yeah, that's what they look like. You see I have some over 30 appearing at the end. Otherwise, the labels that I had created before, I can add that back to my data frame, compare it to the total amount originally, and you'll see that the binning works perfectly. So again, this is great to just take a continuous variable with unlimited amounts of values and just put them into buckets for any kind of use downstream, especially if you're thinking about graphing or doing something like value counts here. Like if I just want to know what falls into each bucket, it's a super easy way to create that labeling on the fly and do any analytics from there. If you look here, the NANs actually represent things that were less than 0. So they didn't fall into any bucket and they come back as null.